Don't you just love Caspian Border in the fall? But what's going on, guys, in the works? And we are playing a little bit of CTF here on Caspian Border 2014, part of the Second Assault DLC here on the Xbox One. And the little intro segment showed you guys the tower falling on Caspian Border, and that's one of the new Levolution additions to this map. You can actually blow up the tower in the center that's actually located on the hilltop, and it creates a nice little path for you to go down. And on CTF, this actually becomes very advantageous. So if you're on the US side, in most scenarios, you're going to want to blow this up because it gives you a nice little route to take, either be it on the ATVs or just on foot, for you to kind of push in there and take the flag. If you're on the other side, you probably want to defend that area. You probably want to stay up there and keep the US side from blowing it up, because it gives them an avenue to go through there. So it's actually kind of an interesting dynamic that they've added to Caspian Border, and I think it makes CTF kind of cool, because not only are you worrying about defending your flag, you want to keep them from taking the hilltop and detonating the tower so it falls down and gives them an advantage. So that's one of the cool additions to Capture the Flag, and I actually think it looks really cool when it's coming down. That particular intro segment, I mean, for being on the Xbox One, looked pretty snazzy, and I'm actually pretty excited for everyone else to get their hands on the Second Assault DLC, because I'm actually enjoying playing it. Whenever I hop on the Xbox One, mainly all I play is Second Assault. That tends to be where I gravitate towards, and it seems like I haven't really spent a whole lot of time with Capture the Flag, so I wanted to experience it, kind of get to know it, figure out whether or not I think it's going to actually be worth playing when everybody else gets their hands on the Second Assault. Well, first impressions are kind of hit or miss. I've had some really awesome times with Capture the Flag, particularly here on Caspian Border. I think it plays very well, because it has a nice balance of wide openness with buildings to hide in, different levels of terrain. So it's not too wide open, it's not too closed, and I think it plays really well on Capture the Flag. It kind of reminds me of Operation Riverside from the in-game DLC on Battlefield 3. It's got very similar terrain designs, and that was a map that was solely designed with CTF in mind. So I think Caspian is probably your best bet if you want to experience the Capture the Flag mode here on Battlefield 4. Now, I will point out that Firestorm plays pretty well. I think Firestorm plays a lot like Caspian Border. It's a nice wide open map with enough variety in there where it's not, too wide open. And I think a lot of the in-game maps in particular were just way too wide open for Capture the Flag, with the exception of Riverside. But then you've got Metro. Most of my experiences on Metro tend to be 32-player teams, way too many people, no one's playing the objective. They're basically playing it like you see 32-player aside Conquest, where they're just throwing frags at each other and no one's really doing anything, and it ends up being a tie. Pretty disappointing. Can Metro be good on some lower player count servers? Absolutely. There's a lot of new flanking routes now, and I think on maybe like some 12v12 or 16v16 servers, Capture the Flag is a very viable option on Metro. And that leaves us with Oman. I already said Firestorm's a good map. It's pretty similar to the way Caspian plays. It's nice and wide open with enough variance to make it work. But Oman has one huge problem, and that's a problem that kind of carried over from Battlefield 3, and that is the recons getting on top of buildings. Essentially, a third of both teams will usually be on top of buildings during Capture the Flag. I mean, there's nothing we can do about that. It's the same with Conquest. A lot of people like to get up there and snipe, but what it creates is these imbalances in terms of like who is where on the map. And you'll get like 3 people in a squad up there sniping, 3 people in the other squad up on the other building, and they'll be able to parachute right down on top of the objective. So it kind of defeats the defensive element of Capture the Flag. You don't really know where people are coming from because they can just parachute off top of the buildings. It may seem like a petty complaint, but it actually becomes very annoying for both sides, because no one is really getting the flag, because if they finally do jump off the building and grab the flag, the other team is back at the objective. So by the time they arrive at the next objective, here come the other guys parachuting down to stop them. They do stop them, and it ends up going to the time max. You end up being like a 1-to-1 draw or something like that. It tends to be my experience on Gulf of Oman, but I'm sure there's been games out there where people have jumped in a server and no one's done that, and they've had an awesome time on Gulf of Oman. But I think that really plays back into the balancing aspect of this particular game mode. Do some of the gadgets just not work for CTF? I mean, I like the idea of the spawn beacon. I've never been against the spawn beacon, but I think in particular on Capture the Flag, it's one of those things that kind of destroys the element of the game mode. It makes it seem like, okay, well, if this player just sneaks behind lines, suddenly there's 6, 7, 8 players behind the line, and before you know it, the whole defensive mindset of capture the flag is kind of destroyed, because these guys can basically put a spawn beacon up on top of a building where no one can get to it unless they taxi and waste one of their choppers. So it's a little bit, disappointing that kind of exists, and perhaps maybe DICE should limit some of the gadgets you can use in certain game modes, but then that might get overly complicated, and I'm sure some people would be kind of upset about that because they wouldn't be able to jump on rooftops. But I think CTF's fun. It's there if you want to play it. You can have a lot of fun with an organized team. But like I said, the community can sometimes make things seem a lot worse than they really truly are. So I would give CTF a thumbs up for now on Second Assault. It's a nice mix-up from your normal, Conquest, Domination, Conquest, and Rush. But I still think it does suffer from some of the flaws that it had in Battlefield 3. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this look at Second Assault here on Caspian Border. If you missed my past videos, I highly suggest you watch the DayZ video if you didn't get a chance. Even if you're not a DayZ fan, it's pretty funny. You can laugh at some of my ineptitude, and I will see you guys next time. Peace.